I've got a phone call from Bart Volker. He asked me if I've seen a film Metro Manila, and then they sent me a script called Anthropoid, and they said it's a new project of director Sean Ellis.
It's very rare that a script comes to my desk and I can't put it down. And it really was one of those scripts that not only did I want to learn more about World War II, but really wanted to get in and really figure out how big of a part Prague and Czechoslovakia had during World War II.
I got sent the script and a little bit of a bio about who was involved in it and everything. I'd just seen Metro Manila, which is a film that Sean Ellis wrote and directed, and I'd literally just seen it 3 weeks before or something, and I thought it was one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. So my wife was with me and I said, I've just been sent a script by the guy who did Metro Manila, and she was like, wow, could we watch it together? I just knew instantly I wanted to do it regardless of what it was about. Also, Cillian Murphy was already attached, so I'm a huge fan of Cillian's anyway.
I'd heard a lot about Metro Manila, but I hadn't seen it. So I watched Metro Manila, and it kind of knocked me out. I was really, really blown away by it. Myself and my wife watched it, and it kind of had a big impact on me. And then I read the script. Well, I have a very, very simple rule with reading any script, and that is it needs to keep your attention. You know, if you're reading it and then you go, oh, I really need to cut the grass or have a cup of tea or go to the shop, I'll just put it down. Then to me, it's out. But with this one, it was just straight through. You know, it was so compelling. You had to keep reading until the end. That for me, if it's that good of a read on the page, it's just only gonna get better and better.
Sean, very early on when I agreed to do the film, gave Cillian and I a book literally called Operação Antropóide that was like blow-by-blow account of every detail of the mission and background of both Jan and Jozef's characters, and that was sort of like our Bible.
Prostě něco, co vlastně, ačkoliv jsme se to víceméně učili ve školách a známe samozřejmě někdo víc, někdo méně teoreticky.
This is probably best story in Czechoslovakia history in last 100 years.
No to je nádherný, to je nádherný, to je skutečně radost, víte, že potom po té dlouhé době, že ještě se to takhle dělá a moc jim gratuluju teda a jsem rád, že se to pustili. Tak jsem velmi rád a ne já, jistě by to viděli i tamti, co jsou už bohužel na druhém světě.
What is your mission?
Operation Antropóide.
What is Anthropoid?
The decision was to do it in Czech accent. You know, Sean had decided that all the Germans would speak German, so you know it was very much like a foreign language. So I think it was a clever approach to it.
I was sort of terrified about the idea of that, of doing a Czech accent, because it's not Russian, which is stronger and you can hang your hat on it a bit more. It's a bit more of a definitive thing. Czech's quite subtle, really.
I think casting so many Czechs in the movie and not all Brits really helped, because I do think our British actors really took a lot of cues language-wise from their Czech counterparts.
This is the last one. For us.
I went to the actual spot where my character had had his last breath, and it had a massive effect on me. It literally went from seeing the real church on like a Tuesday and then seeing the set on like a Thursday, and it was mind-blowing. They were literally identical. Honestly, I've never, and I feel like I maybe never will see a set like it. It was driven by Sean, but also Morgan Kennedy, who's our production designer. The attention to detail of replicating that church was like nothing I've ever seen. It was to scale exact to scale model of the church. Honestly, the most impressive set I've ever seen in my life.
I think we would have shot in the original cathedral, but obviously because of the action that was taking place there, we decided to build it in one of the big stages in Barrandov Studios. There was one point actually when they built the roof first, and then they basically raised the roof up on chains, and then they built the walls either side, and they were going to roll the walls in underneath. And we all went down there and looked at this roof, and we're looking by eye and thinking, when they roll that up, it's not going to fit, the walls aren't going to fit underneath it. And it basically fitted by, I think it was 6 centimetres. We'd build, and as we were going on, they'd keep going back to the original church to sort of check details and check sizes and make sure that everything was exactly as we wanted it to be. And yeah, it was a huge build, certainly the biggest thing I've ever built. I think it was the manager of Barrandov Studios came into the big studio to see the finished cathedral. I think she was so overcome with emotion that she started crying.
There is no time. Take up defensive positions, we hold them from here. Bublik, take the upper gallery.
Heydrich's car, when we first started very early on, we tried to find a replica of the Mercedes that he was driving when he gets assassinated. There were a few options that we could have hired, but none of them were the exact car. So in the end, we made the decision to build the car from scratch. Again, to keep, faithful to history and faithful to the accuracy of the story. We managed to find a Mercedes museum, and he had some of the panels and some of the original mouldings and some of the original pieces of chrome and some of the original headlights, which he would basically rent us. We made our own seats, and I think we made our own dashboard, and we made our own steering wheel and bits and pieces. I still think it was worth it.
And action!
We were very lucky that the atmosphere that Sean created on set and off set was sort of familial. So everybody spent a lot of time together and socialized together, and I think that does, by sort of osmosis or weirdly, transfer onto the performances. First time for me to have a director like behind the lens directing you, it gives you a real connection. It was very much like me, Jamie, and Sean were like making this thing together, and he was right there, like even all the action scenes. Like
his commitment to this story, to these guys, to this piece of history, to these two heroes was phenomenal. He'd been doing all this sort of training leading up to it for months, in terms of like a lot of the stuff was handheld, like on the shoulder. So he'd been doing all this very specific exercise. Sean had been writing this and had been in his head for 12 years before it came into actually making the movie. So he had a lot of time to think about how he wanted this movie to look. He was just so prepared physically and mentally to take on this project. I've never in my career had a director who's gone so far in terms of setting up visually how he wants the sort of major scenes to play out. We're under siege in this church, and these Nazis come in, and I stood up and I like fired off the gun. It was very light, the trigger, lighter than it had been at any time, like just for this take. And the gun just went off so fast, and I was like, almost like screaming, and like the adrenaline was so sort of huge with me. I had such a will to do it that I almost sort of scared myself.
Well, I think for this film to succeed, the relationship between Jozef and Jan had to be, you had to feel it, and it had to be real. And unfortunately, Jamie Dornan is a cock, so that was tricky. But no, Cillian.
Who was Cillian? Which one was Cillian? Oh yes, Cillian. He's the older one. Yeah, no, he was great. I think I don't remember a lot about him.
Jamie is not just like the most beautiful man on earth, he's also very, very, very funny. And he's got no ego, which is so rare and precious. And to work with somebody like that on set is just perfect. You cannot ask for better. I remember the first big scene we had to do in the living room together, when we're talking about the mission. We just did it, and it was easy, and he's not making anybody wait. He's just super present, and you feel that he's happy to be on set. He's really in his element, I think.
Everyone just relax. Maybe it was a mistake not to inform you of the danger.
And I remember after doing the scene over and over again, he just went like, "Oh, well, that was fun." And I thought it was so cute and adorable. But he's married and he's got 2 kids.
As a producer, when you have an actor that not only is available to talk to anybody, but is also so incredible at his craft, you just feel safe. And watching the monitors every time Cillian was on, it was almost one of those things where you're like, the scene's going to play out incredibly well, and all those actors around him are going to step up because they're next to Cillian Murphy.
I need to get my family out of Prague. No one is going anywhere, Jordan. You try and run now, they will pick you up before you reach the city limits.
And I like them two together. Jamie and Cillian, they were like good friends, or they had so many jokes and with each other. And Charlotte was fun. I really like one sentence, which is like small in the movie, and it's not a big scene, but I think that's what it's about. I think Cillian is saying that sentence, and it says, "You have to take a side."
Sometimes you have to pick a side. Would you prefer it with us?
Stadtpolizei! Alles durchsuchen!
Los!
I just feel very proud that we've made what I think is a great movie. I feel proud for Sean. And I feel proud to, have told a very important story in world history, not just like Czechoslovakia.
Úspěch byl největší snad z těch skupin. To bylo v celém světě vědět. O tom se vědělo, že co se tady událo. A nejen to, bylo taky zrušeno, Anglie zrušila hned tenkrát tu dohodu, potom to i Francie zrušila a tak dále, a bylo to všude známý,